Hey people, I'd like to show you a slideshow while I read you this ancient poem. I know people want to be entertained and not educated, but the real beauty is in the way they put the words together. You know, Thoth is known as the inventor of writing. He was also known as a painter, and there's no telling how many of his works were burnt down in the Alexandria fires, and many other libraries have been burned because they didn't want us to know that the ancient people were speaking English. The ancient Greek and the ancient Hebrew both comes from the old Teutonic, and it's what we would call ancient English. We were all told when we were young, that Adam and Eve took a bite of the apple, and that's what got them kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And then later on we were told that it wasn't an apple, it was just, we don't know what kind of fruit it was. And then later on we were told, well, it was not really a fruit, it's just a metaphor for something else. But in this Greek Bible, it actually does say apple. You have to know how to catch it. So I'm going to read on down this poem, and I'm going to show y'all how to read this and some of the beauty that's in the language. And I'm going to show you where it does say apple. I'm going to start down here at line 16, Genesis 3:16, and this word for your submission. This is apostrophe. A-P-O-S-T-R-O-P, and then a Q is a P-H, and then an H is the E, apostrophe. And that's what it says, apostrophe. And it's given the meaning disgust or repugnance. The same word that they said was your submission. So apostrophe is said to meaning turning away, an exclamatory figure of speech. It occurs when a speaker breaks off from addressing the audience and directs speech to a third party, such as an opposing litigant or some other individual. Sometimes absent from the scene, sometimes absent. When we say apostrophe, we think of punctuation mark used to indicate either possession or the omission of letters. You use apostrophe VE to mean have, and you can leave out the HA. They say it comes from the Greek apo, is from or opposing, away, and to turn, away to turn, to turn away from the audience. But also, in a speech or a poem addressed to a person, typically one who is dead or absent, or a thing, typically one that is personified. So the apo means away, and the strophe is a poetic term usually referring to the first part of the ode in ancient Greek tragedy, followed by the antistrophe and the epode. The term has been extended also to mean a structural division of a poem containing stanzas of varying line length. And so the antistrophe is the portion of an ode sung by the chorus in its returning movement from west to east, in response to the strophe, which was sung from east to west. And then the epode is the third part that completes the movement. So in the Greek translation, disgust or loathing, repugnance, this is the picture of apostrophe. But apostrophe is also a legal term for somebody being prosecuted in their absence. That's what it means as absence, absent letters, absent person. So in an ode, it starts with a catastrophe, according to the strophe, according to the turning. And then you have an apostrophe, to away the turning. You have a twist in the story there. And this twist causes a collapse. It covers everything up. Everything collapses in the catastrophe, according to the twist. The collaptin. Everything collapsed in. And then you have an apocalypse. to away the collapse, to dig everything out from the collapse, to away the cover, the collapse, to cover, to away the covers, to away call ups. You pull the covers off and wake all up, so everybody wakes up. And then Strophimenon, the cherubim in the flaming broadswords tourney is and this then meant the same thing then than it does now. In the ancient language, the T, to mark, and then the chet, the H, to divide, and then the N is the cycle. And you don't see it here, but you see it in the Egyptian language, where the N is just drawn as the cycles of water. And it's to mark the cycle. You count, in 10 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you put a kaikel on the day. You mark the cycle. And that's where your word kike comes from, for a derogatory name for Jews. Because marking the kaikel, the circle, the day circled, it means you're looking into the future. And this was outlawed. It was legal to mark off the days past, but this is the apple looking into the future. Flogging on, the beating on, the Rome-Maffian. The Rome-Maffian. That's where your word mafia comes from. Roman Maffian. Then strips o' men, the strip of men. The turning of men on. File. File is given the meaning of leaves on a tree. The file. To file ass they in. Get in line. To file them in. Then adorn. Then put on to the cross. Zulu is a cross. This Zeus. They'll say this is the name of Adam's wife in the 4th chapter, because she was the mother of all life, and we called her Zoe. So I'm going to leave this interlinear Bible up here so you can see their translations. But I'm going to read out of this sweet Septuagint, because the words are spelled a little different, and it has some different punctuation in it. It has it read different. But you can see this is called the fall of man, and this one's the serpent's deception. And they're real similar, but there's a little bit of difference. And so the ode, it's a piece of poetry. The ode of is on the chronomotatos. And I did a movie, the last movie I explained this chronomotatos. But the chrony, it can mean friend, or it can mean wise. And then the motatos, you would read, the chronimo as in that which is friend, or that which is friend would be friendly, and tatos is ist, the friendliest. Or you would read it, the chrony is wise, and so that which is wisest. But the spelling of it and everything else really makes me think that this is the friendliest. The ode of is on the friendliest paint on ton. And so, ton is a word mean fashionably, style or distinction. Is, hey, put this on, put it on. Let's put it on. Or the fashionable society, the ton. You tell them they get all dressed up and look like Egyptians. Old Latin, French, English word, ton. And so the ode of is on the friendliest, the chronomotatos, the paint on ton, the paint on fashion, the theory on, This is a TH and then an H, so the H is E, the therion. And fashion, the pithos goes on. The fashion, the pithos goes on. E is the, same as in the Hebrew, the pithos. That's why the Hebrews always start their words with ha. It's because they're not pronouncing the in front of the rest of the word. But the pithos is these ancient jars that they used to put all their drugs in. And they were all painted up. They were decorated with goddesses. They had all the ton, all the fashionable society painted up on them. The gods and the ton and a lyre. The theory on fashion, the pithos goes on. And then this word's spelled a little different down here. It's got an N on the end of it. And it's the potion, the Poihsen. The potion. And so the potion, the Poih, you can see the word poet in there. And that's the creator. They always give the meaning made or created. In the beginning, God created the potion. And so the PO is the same word that your doctor will put when he writes you a script and he wants you to take it orally. PO. Per orally, 2 times a day. Po. And so that's the mouth, the po. And so the potion is words. The potion carry, Kury. The potion carry as see the O's, as see those. And so all the gods and the ton and all the instruments, they all had a meaning. And there was the code, the potion was in the pictures that the old chronomotados paint on fashion. Theory on fashion, the pithos goes on. The potion carry as see those. And 2 hyphen, it talks about the apostrophe. It also talks about the hyphen. And so in the Hebrew, the hyphen tells you to read the next word backwards and forwards. And only the ton knew this. Not everybody knew this. Nobody that reads Hebrew today knows it. That's why they sound ridiculous with their stories and the way they pronounce it. But that's what it means, the hyphen, EY. Anything that starts with a vowel, you can pretty much put an H in front of it, and it'll match up to the words we use today. But yeah, the E and the H are interchangeable in every word. And to hyphen C of is. And so this is a iota underneath here. It goes underneath the H and the omega and the A. And this is kind of like the Greek hyphen. And it means this word will read forwards and backwards. And so it's THT. And so to hyphen C of is that the gyna icky. And so, a gynecologist, he don't look at your wife, he looks at her pussy. And so that's what it's saying all throughout here. It's trying to say it in a nicer way. But yeah, the name of Adam's wife is June, G-U-N-H. People say it's Zoe and Eve. But in the Greek Bible, the name is June. The wife is June. And so the gynecology, they say this is wife, the woman, anything like that. But the icky on the end of here, this is where your word like comes from. And so it's woman-like or pussy-like, pussy-ish. And it's the IKI. And I know it's impossible to see it. You have to just read everything around it to know what the letters here. But this is the IKA, meaning to this of same. And up here at the IKIs, to resemble, like, resembling. I to liken or to compare. And so it's saying, ode of is on the chronomotatos, the paint on fashion, the theory on fashion, the pithos, the jars, goes on the potion to carry as see those. And hyphen C of is that pussy-like, pussyish, T-O-T. And so T-O-T is one of the many names of Thoth. And it's where your name deity originates. And he was called Tehuti and deity, Tehuti, Tehuti. He was the teacher, and that's where the word teach comes from, the Titu. And all the gods, their names were spelled different because they weren't gods, they were qualities. And when they were put in the story, it had to be used in different ways. And so this just confirms that, Thoth wrote the Hebrew Bible, and this part of the Greek Bible, they were shooting him down because he's a gynecee. He's a gyna. He's a woman like T-A-T. The hyphens see those. And you really can't read it here because they'll change this up. But the gynecee T-A-T, a hyphen C the O's. How much faggot a po. The faggot is what they say is eat. You should eat. But the fag is, to smoke. In Britain, is to smoke or something. You suck. The faggot away. Oh, the faggot away paintos. The paintos, the painter. Zulon. And this Zulon, they say, is the tree. Or Zulu. And it's actually, the Zulon is the upright, and the Zulu is the cross. It's where your word sil come from. The Zul on is the one upright, and the Zul of is the one that goes across it. And it very seldom means tree anywhere. It's always wood, something made of wood, a piece of wood, and then the trunk of a tree, but not the tree. Used to support the crossbar of a cross in crucifixion. And that's the Zulon. And then you see the Zulu over here, him on a cross, by hanging him on a cross. It's the one that goes across. And it's where your word easel come from. That easel you set up to paint on. The painter's Zulu is easel. E-Z-U-L or X-U-L. They mix the Z and the X up and the S's too. But it's the painter's Zulu. To parodies, to paradiso, parody. A parody is all those pictures. They're all parodies. And to sow is what you're planting. The parody sow. And to hyphen he and so the H is also your number 8. And so that can be read to hyphenate. To hyphen he. To hyphenate June, the woman. June, the woman. And then T-O-T, toot. To hyphenate June, toot of they. Toot of they. You'll see that they totally changed this. This is June from fruit of the tree, or apocarpo to. Away the fruit to. Away the wrist to. And this is the hyphenate June, toot of they. Away the paint the painter's Zulu. The painter's easel too. The parodies so. Phagometa. Meta is met, is with. Meta is from within. Phagometa, the phag is where your word method come from. But the parody so, the suck 'em from within, fag 'em within, suck 'em within. So, apode to Karpov, to Zulov, to cross of sea. Apode, this is your word for the serpent. Apode, zoology, an animal with no feet. The serpent, apode, one with no feet. To fruit of, to cross of sea. You see, that's the same here. The apode, the serpent, the no feet, carp of, fruit of, to cross of sea. Is it in miso? And so miso, this is what they say is middle, and it's in the mess. And then you have this iota here to read it backwards again. In the mess as them. In the mess as them. When you're in a mess of things, you're in the middle of things. In the mess as them to parodies sow. Sowing, they're still sowing the parodies. Hyphen see those of fagest. To ingest. To take it in your mouth. But to fagest is to take it in your butt. They used to blow smoke up your ass. And it was a medical treatment all the way up to the beginning of the 1900s. They were still doing this. And to the parody sow, the hyphen see those of fagest app. And you'll see this apostrophe after the P here. And you don't see it like this anywhere else. And here you just see a big old apostrophe. It's in there. And what it means is missing letters. Not app. And so the same as the PO is per orally. The AP is to apply, the fagest, up the butt to apply. And then the missing letters. And these missing letters are OLLO, to apply all low. And Apollo is, he's the god of oracles, seeing into the future. Healing, archery, music, and the arts, sunlight, knowledge, herds and flocks, protection of the young. Apollyon, the destroyer. And his symbol was the lyre. And the laurel wreath. The laurel wreath is, he who wears the crown of laurel is called Lars. And that's Israel backwards. And he was the patron deity of Delphi. Is the oracular god. He's the one they talk to look into the future. The prophetic deity. And Apollo is the god who affords help and wards off evil to various epithets. And you see where that word come from, the pithos. The pithos, the epiths. An epithet, an adjective or descriptive phrase expressing a quality of characteristic of the person or thing mentioned. And so the apode, the serpent to fruit of, to cross of sea, is it in miso as, in mess as, them two parodies so, the hype in see those of fagest, apply all low, is your missing words, OLLO, apply all low, Apollo, what two would much obsessed, what two ina much apothenty, of fagest, to take in the fag way, the apple, Apollo, the god of oracles. What two would much obsessed. And Bible lexicon seems to think this is connected to the word aptume, meaning to fasten oneself to adhere to cling to to touch, of carnal intercourse with a woman or cohabitation, of Levitical practice of having no fellowship with heathen practices. And they say this word is base word haptomē, meaning to touch, the prop I fasten to, I lay hold of, touch, or to know carnally, touching that influences, and touching someone, something in a way that alters, changes, modifies them, and impact touching. But when it's with the gyna, like as, of carnal intercourse with a woman, or properly to fasten oneself to, adhere to cling to, was the earlier writings of Homer. In messes them to parody so, hyphen C those of fagest, and take it in the butt. Apollo, the apple. What two would much abscess to touch 'em in a way that left a mark? What of Ina much apothante to die, to away the night? I am dying, I am about to die, wither to decay, to die off, to focus on the separation that goes with the dying off, of separation that always comes with divine closure, stresses the ending of what is former to bring what naturally follows. So what brings this death is DMT. You can concentrate it and smoke it, or you can eat it, and you have to mix it with something because you eat it all day long. DMT's in everything. It's in many animals and many plants. And when you do it, it gives you this trip. You think you done died, and you separate from your body. You go out and see what comes after life. And so they would use this to see into the future, to separate your mind from your body and travel. So the reason you don't get high all day from eating it is because you have a MOI in your stomach. And what this does, it inhibits the monoamine oxidase, and it cuts a oxygen group off of it, and so you don't get the trip when you're eating it all day. And you have this MOI in your stomach. So I did a movie on this before, and I'll try to figure out which one it is and leave a link up top there. But this is Adam, and his wife is the June, G-U-N-H, June, or Gina, gynecology, sometimes it's a U, sometimes it's a V, and they change the pronunciation to Y, I think, just to confuse, but that's a gyna, and that's where your word vagina comes from. A gyna icky is vagina-like, and that's a butthole. And so a gyna, that's the eye of Isis. And they learn that gyna icky, the eye of Horus, works even better. You digest food all the way down. And so they learned that you could put this DMT, substance containing DMT, you could put them up your butt, and the MAOI doesn't affect it because it stays in your stomach, and you could digest it, and you could cross to the other side and see Apollo, the god of the oracles. So I learned a lot while doing this, and I'll probably go back through again and tweak this language a little bit more, and we'll be able to see and understand it a lot better. But I'm sure that, that's what these cherubim are, the Romaphia. The Romaphia, that's the MAOI in your stomach, that kills it. And you can bypass them by going through the fagest. Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.